Hi everybody, welcome back. We're looking today at Jeremy Duff, Elements of New Testament Greek. Great news, we're in chapter 9, whole new chapter entitled Pronouns and Conjunctions. Today we're looking at the pronouns this and that, hutos and ekainos. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a couple of quick hints. Firstly, how to remember which is which, how to remember the form they take or the morphology, and then we'll look at how they're used in sentences. There's a couple of quirks about to do with that, but we'll help you through that. And by the time we finish that, it'll all be crystal clear. So first, remembering which is which. For some reason, students, myself included, get hutos and ekainos mixed up. The easiest way I find to remember it personally is that hutos and ekainos rolls off the tongue much more easily than ekainos and hutos. I don't know why, but it's certainly the case that this and that rolls off the tongue very easily. Whoever heard of saying that and this? That's just not what you do, is it? So hutos and ekainos, this and that. That might be all you need. If it's not all you need, then you can resort to the fact that if you put them both in alphabetical order, in Greek and in English, then they also line up. So that and ekainos come earlier in the alphabet, respectively, than this and hutos. And in fact, Duff has got these two reversed, so they're in alphabetical order, ekainos and hutos. So whichever suits you, either just think hutos and ekainos, this and that, otherwise stick them in alphabetical order, and this one goes first, whereas that one goes second. Right, you should never, ever get them confused again. Now let's look at their form. And we'll start with ekainos, the word for that. And this is really, really, really simple. Okay, what I've done here is write the stem, ekain, 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 in masculine, feminine, neuter, singular, plural, nominative, accusative, genitive, dative, and then the same four cases down here, all nice and simple. And you can see, as Duff says, it declines exactly like the most basic kind of adjectives that you have looked at so far, adjectives like agathos, with one exception in the neuter, which we'll come to. So agathos, agathon, agathu, agatho, oi, us, oin, ois, ekainos, ekainon, u, o, oi, us, oin, ois. Dead simple. Exactly the same in the feminine. Ekainer, en, es, er, I, as, own, ice. Perfectly simple. The only problem comes in the neuter, where you've got a slight deviation from the pattern found in agathos, and it's just right here, where ekaino, ekaino, ekainu, ekaino, not ekainon, non, uo. And so, in other words, this follows the pattern that you get in the article, to, to, and so on. That's just a little bit awkward. But if you can remember that, the one quirk, ekaino, in the nominative and accusative neuter singular, then you'll be perfectly fine remembering the form of ekainos. Right, now we need to look at the form of hutos, which is a little bit different. Give me half a second to change the whiteboard around, and then we'll get started with that. Okay, now here we've got hutos, and as you can see, a little bit more complicated. Let me show you how. Good news is, the endings are the same as ekainos. Os, on, u, o, etc., all the way down, and the same oddity with the neuter, nominative and accusative singular. So at least you've got nothing new to learn with the endings. The real puzzle comes here with what happens to the stem, because instead of going hutos, huton, hutu, huto, it goes hutos, tuton, tutu, tuto. I've not repeated this every time it occurs. Hutoi, tutos, tuton, tutois. Awkward. In other words, you get a tau instead of the rough breathing once you leave the nominative case and go accusative, genitive, dative. Slightly awkward. Then you got the same thing in the feminine. Hauter, changed to the stem here, alpha upsilon, not omicron upsilon, and then here comes the tau again. Tauten, tautes, tauter, then back in the nominative, hautai, tautas. Then the really weird thing, two-tone. It's the stem that you get in the masculine, and as it happens, the neuter. Two-tone, tautais. So very strange. You've got this peculiarity here in the genitive singular in the feminine. let's come to the neuter in a second. I'll just talk about these two first. The way to remember this is it's just like the stem, so to speak, in the article. Just think about what happens with the article. It's ho, ton, tu, to, hoi, tus, tone, tois. Do you remember? In other words, in the nominative, you've got the rough breathing, ho, and then accusative, genitive, dative, the t, ton, tu, to. So also here, rough breathing, tau, tau, tau. Then again, rough breathing, like with hoi, tau, tau, tau. That helps you to remember what's happening to the stem in the masculine. In the feminine, you've got the same thing. You need to remember that there's a change in the vowels, but again, you've gone, like with the article, hair, ten, tears, tear, you've got rough breathing, ta, ta, ta. Rough breathing, how tai, ta, ta, ta. So that helps you to remember what's happening at the beginning of the stem. This weird thing I have no explanation for. I'm really sorry. Except to say you can at least rationalise it by saying that the genitive plural article is the same in all three genders, tone, and the genitive plural of hutos is the same in all three genders. Like that. I know I've done this one in different colours. I just did that one in green to highlight that it's different. But in other words, these three are all the same just as they are in the article. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Then when you get to the neuter, you've got a different kind of quirkiness. Ta, 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 tu, to, tu, to, tu, to, tu, to. That's all fine, just as you'd expect. Here's where the weirdness comes. Let's hit the blue. Here's where the weirdness comes in the neuter. The alpha pops it up again. So it starts to look a little bit like the stem, or exactly like the stem, of parts of the feminine version. It's just a real pickle, really. Here, the way that I think of it, and I don't know whether this helps you, it's just a mnemonic. I'm sure this isn't how it came about, but this is how I remember it. The here sort of makes its way back into the stem. Obviously, that's not really what's happening at any significant grammatical level, but that helps me to remember it. And actually, to ta, just doesn't sound right. Tau ta kind of does. If you say it 50 times, like maybe I probably have. Maybe if that helps you, that should be good. And then you've got two-tone and two-choice at the end. So there's the form. I'm sorry for the quirkiness with this fella. Not making me very happy either. But at least you can see some patterns, and hopefully, as always, the patterns will help you to get a feel for what's going on here. Right, now, let's think about how these are used in sentences. And again, once you've got a couple of minutes on this, you'll find this easy to figure out too. Okay, now let's look at how these are used. And as Duff says, both hutos and akanos can be used either as a pronoun or an adjective, which sounds a little bit complicated, but it's just like you can use these pronouns, in English. Let's look first at their use as pronouns. Now, one thing I didn't mention earlier, but I'll mention now, of course, the plural form of this is these. The plural form of that is those. This car, these cars, that person, those people. You see how that works. Okay, so very simple sentence here. Blepo, and then the object as a bunch of these different pronouns. Let's see how we translate each of these. First, blepo akainous. Well, that comes from akainos. It's plural, so it means those, and it's masculine. So it's I see those men or those people, remembering that sometimes the masculine is used generically for people. I saw those people. Blepo akaina. Well, that's neuter plural accusative. So it's, oh, hello. Hey, babe. Okay, I'm just recording a video. Can I? Don't worry, that's fine. Can I come in 5 minutes? All right. Love you. Bye. Okay, now second one, blepo akaina. This is neuter accusative plural. So it's those, but it's those things. I see those things. Blepo ekeno, that's neuter accusative singular, so it's not those things plural, it's I see that thing. And then blepo ekenen, that is feminine accusative singular, so it's that from ekenos, but it's feminine. And remember, when a pronoun is used, a feminine pronoun is used in Greek, it's either relating to a specific feminine noun that's elsewhere in the sentence, or it refers to females, women or girls particularly. So just like this, it would be I see that woman, or I see that girl. That's what those four would mean. Now, switching to the bottom four, we've got blepo tutus. Well, tutus comes from hutos. It's masculine accusative plural. So it's this, but it's these, and it's masculine. So it's I see these men, or I see these people. Tauta, it would be fairly straightforwardly. It's neuter accusative plural. So it is these things. I see these things. And tauten, that is feminine accusative singular. So I see this woman. Now, you see what we're doing in each of these instances. We're following Duff's advice when he says to try to make sense of these in their use as pronouns. The best thing to do is to supply man, woman, person, thing, just to give you the sense of it. You wouldn't necessarily always include that in a translation. It would depend whether or not it were needed in order to make it obvious. I see this, if it's just a thing. You might not need to say this thing. It might be obvious what you were saying. But in general, just to help you with the fluidity of the translation, that's the way to use these as pronouns. Now finally, let's think about the use of hutos and ekenos as adjectives. Duff's explanation is helpful here, but I think there's a simpler way of remembering what's going on. The tricky thing is that you don't use these two words, hutos and ekenos, as adjectives in the normal way in which you'd use adjectives. If you wanted to say, for example, the good man, you'd say ho anthropos ho agathos, or ho agathos anthropos. So if you were just thinking about, let's say, the good brother, which is what we've got here, the brother, you put agathos in the middle here, wouldn't you? Just popped in there. But the thing is, that's not where you put hutos and ekenos when you're using them as adjectives. Where you put them is before the article, and then you slap the article in, and it's like, oh, what's going on here? Because it looks like this, the brother. It's a bit strange and weird. Here's what I suggest you do. You imagine forgetting about the article completely, and you just write it in the way you write an English sentence. This brother. And then you insert the article. That makes sense? So the way that you're thinking that the sentence works is the same way that it flows naturally in English, because the word order in English is different from the use of other adjectives as well. You think that sister, this brother, and then you pop the article in just because it needs the article between the pronoun and the noun. So hopefully that will help you to remember how they're used as pronouns here, as adjectives, their form and their meaning. If you've got this far, well done. You're doing a great job. We're kicking off chapter 9. We're halfway through the chapters in the book almost. So you're doing a fantastic job. Keep going, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, 5 or 6 days a week. And we will have you reading the New Testament in Greek in no time at all. Okay, God bless, and bye for now.